Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Midday Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, I want to do a little bit of forecast verification as we start off today's video, and we're going to go back to a set of maps that I released to you at the end of May, and it was the forecast for June. So what you're looking at here is what I gave you back at the end of May, telling us what June was going to look like. We had talked about at that time that it looked as though coastal Oregon and Washington were going to be seeing quite a bit of moisture transport out of the Pacific and therefore some higher precipitation amounts. But overall, we thought the interior was going to be kind of locked away from some of this rainfall and going to be drier in Idaho and Montana. Near average precipitation was forecast for California, but we had thought that we were going to see some good monsoonal moisture transport into parts of the Four Corners states, specifically Arizona. So I had said, hey, this looks like an early season setup that could give us what we want in terms of the monsoon, start of the monsoon in Arizona. In terms of temperatures, overall, the forecast was for a warm western United States with closer to average, maybe even slight cool bias in the Pacific Northwest. So with that as what we had seen forecast by the European model, which again is our best global model when it comes to all types of forecasting, all right, it still fell short. Let's talk about the shortcomings with respect to temperatures first. We can see that much of the Pacific Northwest, due to frequent cold air intrusions in deep troughs, ended up spending much of the month with a near average to cool bias, as you can see here. In California, even though at times it was quite hot, we kept getting these cool blasts of air, like the one that we're in right now, really limiting the extent of the heat that we could have seen in June. When I think about what's been going on here, I think a lot of it has to do with the Pacific, North Pacific temperatures, the ocean temperatures. We've seen this warm tongue kind of curl up in here, and I had originally thought that it was going to send the jet stream north and just keep it north across much of North America, but instead it's been a lot more meridional at times, more north-south, and it's brought in these cooler air upper level troughs into the Pacific Northwest, keeping it very wet and also very cool at times. Now, when we look at climate divisions, climate districts here over the month of June, and we rank them, we have station data that goes back 128 years, we can see the cooler weather in the Pacific Northwest. Now, the closer the number is to 1, that would be the hottest, and the farther it is from 1, closer to 128, would be the coolest. A lot in the Pacific Northwest are in the bottom half of that distribution. Now, in California, you can see that we may finish the month of June, giving it maybe a top 15 warmest Junes, but that heat came on in big waves, followed quickly by drops in temperature. Arizona's had a very, very hot month. And as you can see here in and around Phoenix, we're looking at a top 5 potentially hottest Junes on record. And that has also been very limiting in the moisture in that area. While we have seen some big storms that have been in New Mexico and parts of southern Arizona and getting up here near the Four Corners, much of the rest of Arizona is still waiting on any semblance of monsoonal moisture. So the models really didn't get that right? We were watching them saying it's going to be a good start to the monsoon season, and it hasn't. Meanwhile, in the Pacific Northwest, some locations here have picked up anywhere between 200 and over 350% of normal rainfall. That's what those troughs have really done as they've swept through. And we're going to see how yet this pattern that's brought in these troughs is not letting up as we progress through the middle part of the month of July. Now, if there's one good thing I can talk about for most of the West, excluding Arizona here, but for most of the West, we're largely free of any early season fire threat. Now, we have seen numerous fires in Arizona, which we've been reporting on, but outside of that, this animation, which just takes us out over the next 2 days here, looking at where smoke is, we have not seen any early season fire threat, especially in California and the Pacific Northwest. So that brings me down to these two maps. On the left, I have the Vegetation Health Index compared to a year ago. So remember, you're looking at this being better than a year ago, these colors being worse. Overall, throughout much of the West, we're right about average or close to it, and with several locations above average. Now, with that cooler weather and wetter weather in the Northwest, yes, it has been great for pasture growth. Yes, cattle are happy, but the rains have come at the wrong time, and we need more heat. We're not going to be getting it anytime soon. But look over here on the right. This is the Normalized Differenced Vegetation Index. Now, just a small confession to y'all here. I'm actually red-green colorblind, so I hate these color bars. That's why you never see me when I make my own maps use those color bars. But any of you that want to pause this and take a close look and see, you're going to see a reflection of what you've got over here on the right. Okay, so this is an important set of maps to be looking at here. All right, from there, over the weekend, and early this week, we saw some pretty heavy rainfall, more rain in the Columbia Basin and parts of Washington. And then as you can see here, put through the Snake River Valley and then into Montana. As this deep trough comes digging in, it has set up this corridor as very, very stormy. And that's going to continue here in the near term. We do have flood watches and warnings out ahead of this system here as it continues to pull through the northwest. And on the backside of it, very windy conditions. And as you saw yesterday, our frost threat through Nevada, still have it there again today. Well, let me show you what we're anticipating in terms of rainfall here as we work our way through Tuesday and now into Wednesday morning. Still a lot more scattered showers and storms that could be potentially putting down some pretty heavy rainfall in parts of Idaho and Montana, and then clipping the northern half of Washington as well. In parts of Oregon, just some interior showers and storms popping up, but as you notice, not a whole lot going on south of there. That's what we're really seeing. Okay, in terms of those winds, we may be getting gusts right here, right along the border of Oregon and Washington that may be getting upwards of 40 miles an hour at times. So some strong gusts today. You can see they are there tomorrow as well with some strong winds in the Intermountain West and the Great Basin area, and then here in Montana as well. And then, of course, just off the coast. Look at how strong those winds are just off the coast. So this will subside by the time we get to Thursday, because at that point this system transitions up into Canada and things relax a little bit. But we need to see where they're going from that position by looking at our upper level heights. So you ready? Here's the main trough coming through today. This is the one that's coming on the backside, which yesterday I showed you these two things orbit. You ready to see it again? So if we watch just over the next 48 hours, trough 1 out ahead, trough 2 behind, Fujiwara effect, so in other words, they orbit one another, and it keeps the trough in place. So there's nothing kicking this out. The ridges on either side are very much oriented north-south, so no westerly flow to beat this pattern out of the way. So what we end up getting is the trough retreats back to British Columbia by the time we get to Thursday evening, and then stays there for a while as this broader ridge extends from Arizona clear up into Ontario. See it here? This is for the 4th of July. Now that trough stays in place across the Pacific Northwest while this ridge occupies the southwestern United States. And it just reestablishes for next week and really pulls back into here. So we're going to take a look at what this means for our temperature pattern into week 2. But this is certainly a highly amplified and unique pattern. Now I want to take you all the way out to the end of the forecast run. Let's just go all the way out to day 15. Now, to be honest, the look that we're getting here is very much, well, it's very close to climatology. As you can see, the jet stream kind of sags in like this and builds into a ridge over Montana and then comes back over here into a broader trough-like feature cutting into the North Atlantic and the Northwest. Whether or not this pattern fully sets up, to be honest with you, is still up in the air and something I'm going to be addressing in the long-range outlook I'm going to load later today. So in terms of total accumulated precipitation, it's the area where that large cutoff low in that deep trough is moving. So we can see here the Pacific Northwest, northern Washington, but then getting into Idaho and Montana, especially in the mountains, a lot of precipitation. This is what the European models picked up on for the next 7 days here. I think the Columbia Basin, outside of just a rare hit or miss shower or storm, is largely going to be clear, but the main action is going to be right in through here, then eventually pulling north up into parts of Alberta and British Columbia. All right, so that's what we're looking at. I would like to show you this all in action here from the European model. So we're starting this off early Tuesday morning. Let's pause it here and see how this system transitions. So through Tuesday afternoon and evening, this is where we're expecting the locally heavy rainfall, right? And as we work our way into the overnight hours and eventually into Wednesday morning, we're going to keep an eye here on the northern parts of Washington and then coastal Washington as our best chances for seeing some widely scattered showers. Again, this is Wednesday midday, afternoon, and evening hours. Working our way into Thursday, and then toward the end of the week, it's a bit calmer, a lot drier. We're going to watch our temperatures rebound as well. But remember, early next week, the trough comes sliding in right here, and it's going to slide back in, bringing more unsettled weather to the Pacific Northwest as we get our way into this first full week of the month of July. So I know it doesn't look like much, but there is going to be scattered showers and storms in this area during that time period. So it's certainly going to be a factor we're going to have to deal with in the Northwest. California, we're going to get down to what temperatures are doing there because you're largely void of precipitation during this time period. So into week 2, you can still see it's that northern edge that's going to be seeing the near average to above average precipitation, with most locations to the south of it showing up dry like we'd expect this time of year. No indication as we get to mid-July here of an active monsoon season starting up either. All right, now the temperatures. With the cool down we saw here in the Central Valley of California, today we're heading back up into the mid-90s, okay? 100-degree heat down here when you get into the desert down here in the south. But notice Phoenix, we may top out below 100 today. That's way below average, almost 10 to 12 degrees below average. A cool day, though, across much of the western United States, especially in the interior. What you're going to see as we go from Tuesday into Wednesday, the pattern stays the same, but we got some reprieve like we talked about Thursday, moving into Friday, and then for your 4th of July, Saturday, beautiful weather in the Pacific Northwest. This is very close to average across the whole of the state of California, very near average temperatures here. All the heat's in the Great Lakes states at this point as the ridge builds in. And as we work our way into Sunday and then eventually into Monday, remember Monday's when that next trough tries to come in here. So I think we're going to avoid the extreme heat, the triple-digit stuff in the Central Valley of California as we move forward in this forecast. So when we see what that does to our evaporation rates, these are actually very close to climatological normals for the western United States, anywhere between 1.5 inches and up to 2.5 inches in the Central Valley, and then the Columbia Basin, again, 1.5 inches to about 2.25 inches of evaporation. So that's quite normal. This map is very normal for this time of year. But as we look out here to day 10, just notice what the flow pattern's doing. So this is mid-level winds and temperatures compared to normal. So you can see the flow is doing that, and then here it's racing in this direction. So we just don't seem to be able to break down this highly meridional north-south flow, and that's why your temperatures day 5 through 10 are showing up on the cooler side of things in the Pacific Northwest, closer to average in California. As we get out here to the day 10 through 15, we could start to see some heat rebounding in California, but still near average in the Pacific Northwest. So with that is kind of our setup as we move into the middle part of July. This is not the normal heat stress we tend to get this time of year. All of that is going to be centered right into this corridor in the United States. So plenty to be watching here, and I look forward to giving you these updates. Just a quick note, I'm going to go on a family vacation very soon. And as a result, for the end of this week and then next week, I'm going to back off on the regional content. I'll still be producing my global content and also the long-range updates, but just going to try to take some time off to spend with some family as we move into the second half of this growing season. And I really appreciate you all giving me that opportunity. It means a lot to me. So have a great rest of your week and a great 4th of July weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.